Welcome to the church in Ocean Park. Good to see you. Everybody take a good stretch. I mean, we are partying this morning, you know? So, welcome to this wonderful community. And I'm going to start off with an opening song called Something Inside So Strong. I'm putting it into the chat. Just the chorus of it there. And I can't remember. Louise, can you remind me who wrote this, please? Because I would like to say.
Yeah, I'll find out and at the end, okay?
All right, that sounds good. So, all right. So this is how the chorus goes. And yes, please feel free to sing along in the wonderful privacy of your muted Zoom room. I cannot wait until we are all singing together again. So the chorus goes like this. Something inside so strong, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no. There's something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Now, if for some reason you say, oh, that's a lot of words, how am I going to get all of that? Well, you know what? Just wait for those cool parts. So when you say, oh, no, make sure you're ready to say, oh, no. And of course, oh, the cool part, all right? Okay. All right, chorus again. Here we go. Something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. Though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no. Something inside. Oh, something inside so strong. All right, here comes the first verse. The higher you build your barriers, the taller I become. The further you take my rights away, oh, the faster I will run. You can't deny me. You can decide to turn your face away. Now here comes the chorus, go. There's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. Oh, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride. Oh, something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Oh, you're looking good. So give me a little bit of a sway, y'all. You know, don't forget to clap your hands. We got to be involved in this. Next verse says, the more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. Oh, that's for sure. You hide behind walls of Jericho. Oh, your lies will come a-tumbling, tumbling down. Deny my place in time. You squander wealth that's mine, but my light will shine so brightly, 'cause there's something inside. I know that I can make it. Though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh yeah. There's something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. So let's just do that chorus one more time. And dream of the time when the choir does this together, because it is going to rock. All right, y'all? Something inside. Here we go. There's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. I know that I can make it. But you're doing me wrong, so wrong. Now you thought that my pride was gone. Oh no. There's something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Ooh, something inside so strong. All right, y'all. Yes, indeed. Love that song. So welcome to the church in Ocean Park. The church in Ocean Park is a caring interfaith congregation. We celebrate diversity and we're treating ourselves and others with respect. Our gatherings support and educate and challenge. They challenge us in our relationships to self and others and to the world. We embrace creative expression. We sing at every opportunity, even in Zoom, and working for social justice and all parts of our spiritual life together. I'm Dr. Kim Harris. I'm a member of the church in Ocean Park, and you may be wondering if you are welcome here. Well, we are indeed interfaith, so you are welcome. If you're Jewish, welcome if you're Muslim, if you're Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Wiccan, atheist, or some combination, or something else altogether. We extend a special invitation to those who are single, married, divorced, gay, transgender, filthy rich, or dirt poor. We extend an invitation to those who are crying newborns, just browsing, just woke up, or just got out of jail. Now, we don't care if you are more religious than the Pope. We don't care if you were yelling, having a good time, and celebrating Purim this week. Or we don't care if you haven't been to synagogue since your nephew's bar mitzvah. We invite a special invitation to those who are over 60. Fast, soccer moms, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegetarians, junk food eaters. We invite all who are still in recovering or still addicted. We invite you if you are having problems or you're down in the dumps or you are just sick of this whole pandemic thing. We invite you if you love organized religion or if you don't. And we offer a special invitation to those who work too hard, don't work, have lost their jobs, or are frontline workers, who can't spell or are bored with staying home all day. Whoever you are, inked or pierced or both, we are so glad that you are with us. Tourists, seekers, doubters, bleeding hearts, and you. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park. Take a breath. I know I have to get my lips all together. One of the ways that we center ourselves as we gather each week is by using a chant by Thich Nhat Hanh, and we'll sing it 3 times. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. So just take a breath. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. I am home, in the here and in the now. One more time. I am home, in the here and in the now. Welcome welcome to the church in Ocean Park. And we now invite Reverend Joseph to give us our Lenten moment and an update on how Reverend Janet is doing.
Okay, thank you, Kim. I will first start by mentioning Janet's condition. I spoke with her this morning, and physically she is progressing in the right direction. All the medical tests that she has had indicates that she is improving and going in the right direction. The problem is that because of the fall, she has had periods of forgetfulness, and that comes on to be with us today. So she is progressing slowly, and she is optimistic, and she sends her love and gratitude to the members of the church in Ocean Park for your support, for your encouragement, and for carrying on. So she wants to remind us also that in Judaism, Purim, the festival of Purim, was celebrated this past Thursday through Friday, and it represents a time of finding happiness and hopefulness against great existential uncertainty. So she is in this time of hopefulness, and we pray that all things will work together for good. I'm going to go into my Lenten moment at this time, and it comes from Psalm 13. Part of Psalm 13 tells us, "How long will you forget me? Forever?" The psalmist is saying to God, "How long will you forget me? Forever? How long are you going to hide from me? Answer me. Give light to my eyes before I sleep forever." And Lent is also a time of meaningful complaint. There are 150 Psalms in the Bible, and 67 of them are Psalms of lament and complaint. In the wilderness, Jesus lamented the focus on materialism. He was tempted to turn stones into bread. In our wilderness experience as well, God welcomes complaint. It invites God to lament with us. Lament about narcissism, to lament about separation from one another, to lament against institutional racism. We lament against prolonged social distancing. We lament all these things during the time of Lent. But the psalm ends with a holding on to trust and with singing a song. The psalmist says, "I will trust in the Lord and I will sing." So let us keep a song in our hearts and minds so as to confound the devils in our own system. In our hearts, which is left. Thank you.
Thanks be to God indeed. Thank you, Reverend Joseph. Let's see. We have actually, for this last Sunday in Black History Month, we have a video. Reggie Harris really wanted to be with us, and he's going to look forward to coming and being with us again, live and in person at some point soon. But he sent a video for this week. So take a look at this. And the video is called "It's Who We Are."
shall overcome someday. Well, it's a plague on the nation. It's all across the news, splashed up in color for all the world to see. Our leaders say they're angry, people are confused, so I guess this just comes down to you and me. It's a universal struggle, one fed by vicious lies. We've all been bought and sold for someone. It's a puzzle that defies our attempts to fit the pieces in the frame. So we stand before the mirror and we say, why? How did we get this way? It's who we are. Yeah, it's who we are. Well, you can blame the politicians, you can blame your neighbors too. You can blame the founding fathers for what their mothers didn't do. Well, the answer is quite simple. It's not hard to recognize. It's needed self-indulgence. It's the fear of compromise. And a lot of introspection. Well, it truly come to be. It's our choices that betray us. It's the opposite. We say, why? How did we get this way? It's who we are, the end all, vision by design. It's gonna take a revolution, and we're running out of time. It's who we are. Hey, this is who we are. Oh, but we can change. Yes, we can change. But we can change. Yes, we can change. We can change, shape the future. Won't be our reality, but we can change the notion. Run this race alone. Yes, we can change the truth, 'cause we can't do this on our own. It's in our hearts, it's in our hands, it's in our minds. But we can change. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe. Oh, we shall overcome someday.
Yes, we can change. So Louise, are we getting ready for our wonderful speaker right now?
Yes. And are you going to introduce him?
I sure will. I would love to do that.
Great.
Well, let's see if I can get myself together. Hold on. Well, our speaker today for Dharma Matters is Ralph Craig III. And Ralph is a Ph.D. student in religious studies at Stanford University. specializing in Indian Buddhism. He received his BA from Loyola Marymount University, right here in LA, where his research interests focused on Sanskrit and the intellect, as well as early Christianity and yoga studies. Ralph's current research foci, love getting to say the word foci, include ritual studies, Buddhist literature, and history and comparative religion. And I just have to add that Ralph is an amazing, an expert, absolutely. He is an expert on one of the most famous Buddhists in the world, Tina Turner. So, Ralph, you're gonna have to unmute yourself, and can't wait for you to bring the message.
Hello, and thank you for that introduction, Dr. Harris. It's so great to be with all of you. I do indeed consider myself the world's foremost Tina Turner scholar. I've spent my life trying to understand Tina Turner. This title from the recent book in 2020 of Dr. Jan Willis. And so in Dr. Jan Willis's essay, Buddhism and Race, an African-American Baptist Buddhist Perspective, she writes, quote, "When certain people ask me whether I feel a gap between who I am and what I do, it seems to me that they are really asking, what does Buddhism offer to any African-American? That is a legitimate question, and one that I feel is worthy of real consideration. To answer most simply, I believe that Buddhism offers us a methodology for enhancing our confidence, nothing less than the complete transformation of our ordinary and limited perception of who we are as human beings," end quote. In the 13th century, Nichiren, a Japanese Buddhist monk who founded the Nichiren, wrote a letter to two brothers who were facing recurring difficulties in their family and social situation. He wrote the letter to give confidence to the brothers and push them to maintain their faith and practice. In this context, he encourages them to develop their courage and to regard the encountering of obstacles as a cause for joy. And he wrote to the brothers, quote, "You should not have the slightest fear in your heart. It is a lack of courage that prevents one from attaining Buddhahood. There is definitely something extraordinary in the ebb and flow of the tide, the rising and setting of the moon, and the way in which summer, autumn, winter, and spring give way to each other. Something uncommon also occurs when an ordinary person attains Buddhahood. At such a time, the three obstacles and four devils will invariably appear, and the wise will rejoice while the foolish..." He writes, "You should not have the slightest fear in your heart. It is lack of courage that prevents one from attaining Buddhahood. There is definitely something extraordinary in the ebb and flow of the tide, the rising and setting of the moon, and the way in which summer, autumn, winter, and spring give way to each other. Something uncommon also occurs when an ordinary person attains Buddhahood. At such a time, the three obstacles and four devils will invariably appear, and the wise will rejoice, while the foolish will retreat," end quote. In Buddhism, the three obstacles are defined as obstacles arising from the three poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion, obstacles of karma, and the obstacles of karmic retribution. And the four devils are defined as obstruction caused by one's physical and mental state, death or untimely death, and finally, the hindrance of the devil king, who is said to assume various forms or take possession of others in order to cause one to discard their faith. In the literature of SGI USA, Soka Gakkai International USA, a Nichiren Buddhist organization, it is understood that, quote, "rather than mythical demons or devils, The three obstacles and the four devils refer to the functions of fundamental darkness arising from our own lives and the lives of others, end quote. Specifically, these are obstacles which ultimately hinder one's attainment of a state of limitless courage, wisdom, compassion, and life force. In other words, the state of Buddhahood as understood in Nichiren Buddhism. More broadly, they are any force which seeks to obstruct us when we are on the verge of great accomplishments. And that's the key point. Again, devils are any force which seeks to obstruct us when we are on the verge of accomplishing something great. From an SGI Buddhist perspective, according to this teaching, the events of, for example, last spring and summer, and the obstacles which continue to arise as we fight for social justice and lasting social transformation show us that we are on the verge of a breakthrough. The first president of the Soka Gakkai once wrote that encountering obstacles is what distinguishes practitioners from mere believers. And he said that we should actively seek to bring such devilish functions out into the open. The current president of Soka Gakkai International, Daisaku Ikeda, wrote that, quote, when we adopt the attitude, I summon this storm, our hearts will be filled with a bright sense of hope and purpose, end quote. Of Soka Gakkai International wrote that when we adopt the attitude that I summon this storm, our hearts will be filled with a bright sense of hope and purpose. Thus, we should have confidence in our ability to meet and prevail over every single challenge, rejoicing as we do so. This is how Buddhism develops the confidence which Dr. Jan Willis spoke of. In SGI Buddhism, these obstacles are overcome by practice, by uniting with the community of practitioners, and by studying with a trusted mentor. With these three ingredients, practice, uniting with the community, and studying with a trusted mentor, the SGI teaches in their Buddhist practice that all obstacles can be overcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph Craig III. All right. Although you're muted, please sing at home if you wish. Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Round, from the African American tradition and the civil rights movement.
Brutality Thank you, Louise.
Thank you.
Now, I know we're getting ready for community sharing, and Louise is going to lead that. But before we get into that, I just have to ask Ralph, if you would please. Now, you said 3 things. I was busy writing them down here. So now practice, unity with the community, and study with a trusted mentor. So I want to know how would you expand that as we think about our community that we have here, Church in Ocean Park, and for people that aren't Buddhists, how would you expand that?
I think most broadly, right, it is to always be rooted, right, in what is fundamental. And of course, for the Soka Gakkai Buddhist tradition, that fundamental practice is chanting, right? Chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. And that's considered the root of the entire philosophy, right? Is this practice. But more broadly than that, it's to always stay connected to those practices which are at the center of one's life. And then the community is anyone engaged in that process, right? Anyone who is committed to practicing these teachings, right? Teachings at the center of putting these kinds of teachings at the center of their life. And then a trusted mentor, I think, again, most broadly, is anyone who's on the path, but perhaps slightly ahead of you, right? Who can share the wisdom that they've gained from doing the previous 2 things, right? Over a long period of time. So I think that's the broadest way to think about, these 3 elements. And Buddhism, Soka Gakkai Buddhism, the Soka Gakkai Buddhist tradition of Nichiren Buddhism would say that when you have those 3 elements, you can tap into that life condition of Buddhahood or Buddha nature. And that enables you to overcome all obstacles, right? Such that instead of, we see obstacles and we think, oh goodness, here we go. And one more thing, right? Or maybe we don't think that, maybe we just kind of plod along and go ahead. But according to this idea in Buddhism, in Soka Gakkai Nichiren Buddhism, and we should instead seek obstacles such that when we see an obstacle, we should say, bring it on. And so an example that's always given in that community is like a surfer. And it's something that is particularly dear to my heart because I can barely swim. And if I were thrown into a body of water, who knows what would happen. So when I see a 30-foot wave coming towards me, there's no excitement inside of me. When I see a 30-foot wave, right, my first thought is panic. But to a surfer, right, someone who's trained, who's practiced, who's studied, when they see a 30-foot wave, they are excited. They've been waiting for it, And so this is the same idea in this tradition of Buddhism, that when you have practiced, when you have united with the community, when you have studied with a trusted mentor, when you see an obstacle ahead of you, that's what you've been waiting for, right? You've been waiting for this chance to demonstrate your capability. And then there is this understanding that when those obstacles occur, that means you're on the verge of something great, right? The greater your goal, the bigger the obstacles you're going to have to face. And so you should seek out those obstacles because they are signposts really on the way to your goals.
Right. Thank you very much. If you're new here, I see Joseph's hand, but go ahead, Joseph, and then Craig.
So I was just trying to relate it to the temptations because in the same way Jesus went into the wilderness, sort of sought out the challenges and sought out the pressures that were coming towards him, that would come towards him in his ministry. And he was able to challenge it and to stand firm So I'm thinking maybe it's the same parallel in the Christian faith, where we don't use different chants, but we use song. We use the Song of the Psalms to challenge the unjust systems that, like the waves coming to us.
Yes. I mean, that's a great parallel that you draw. In Buddhism, the what's sometimes called the Devil King, this figure that's kind of variously understood across Buddhist traditions, but it's thought to use what's sometimes called the 10 troops or 10 armies in order to overwhelm the practitioner. And those 10 are greed and Buddhism. An aside, Buddhism abounds in lists. There's a list for everything: the 4 this, the 10 that, the 8 that, the 6 that. So there's a list of 10 kinds of troops that this devilish figure uses to overwhelm the practitioner. And those 10 are greed, right? Care and worry, hunger and thirst, craving, drowsiness, and a kind of state of torpidity, preoccupation with wealth and fame, and finally, arrogance and contempt for others, right? So these are 10 ways that these devilish functions try to overwhelm the practitioner. And so you're exactly right that there's a kind of parallel to these temptations. And I think there's a part of it that, right, makes absolute sense. If you have no goals, if you're not trying to do anything great, then of course you don't meet any resistance, right? You're not trying to do anything. But the minute you decide to do something, and especially to do something great, of course, all the obstacles to doing that thing will arise. And I mean, that can be as simple as, deciding that I want to get up earlier in the morning. And of course, the obstacles to that are clear. But when we're talking, the cold and the kind of comfort of bed and all of that stuff, anxiety, for example, then all of these forces and obstacles that prevent that from happening are going to come through. And so thank you for pointing out that parallel.
All right, for people that are new today, just to let you know, community sharing is a time when you can comment about the message or ask a question or a speaker. Please click on the participant menu, click raise hand, and I will call on you. So let's go to Craig Walter.
Thank you so much. The one thing I did want to say, Dr. Kim Harris's song, Something Inside So Strong, that's the inspiration for my mother's latest book, which is also titled Something Inside So Strong, which essentially leads me to my question. As he spoke, good brother, you talked about the obstacles and wanting to meet them on. And I'm wondering if within that, if you're more or less facing them and you are triumphant, is there something within that training, within this, I guess you could say, exercise, that awakens you or signals you to the idea that you have been successful? Is there something that you should look for that is implicit within that training to more or less signal that triumph? Because I'm seeing all kinds of obstacles just looking at this week. I know I've got to fight, but at the same time, how much energy am I looking to address in terms of addressing, that negativity that's born out? So I'm looking for, enough is enough, and move on to something else within that spoke. And I'm hoping that can be, addressed quite simply.
Thank you for that question. In this tradition of Buddhism, right? Again, Soka, Gakkai, Nichiren Buddhism, in different traditions will have different kinds of answers to that question. But in this Soka Gakkai Nichiren Buddhist tradition, right, again, that quote, you should not have the slightest fear in your heart. It is a lack of courage that prevents one from attaining Buddhahood. And so if Buddhahood is understood as the state of limitless courage, limitless compassion, limitless wisdom, limitless life force, right? You said energy. So limitless life force, then what matters is to bring forth that courage is enough. That is the key to freedom, right? The key to overcoming whatever obstacles you face is that statement you just made, right? Enough is enough. When somebody says enough is enough, right? Watch out. They don't mean when I was a child, my mom would say, stop. She would say, don't do it. And then enough is enough. And then I knew it's on now, right? So when somebody says in their own life, enough is enough, that's the beginning of transformation. And I think, when you ask, are there signposts to know, when you've overcome, or I think that is individual. And I think that is an ongoing process. Sometimes you think that you've overcome, and that's why I brought up his followers who were facing the same challenge again and again. And so he wrote them many letters to address the same challenge. They thought they had overcome it, and then they had another recurring issue. And so he had to write this letter. So I think sometimes the challenge is ongoing. And I think what we're seeing in society, right, the social justice challenge, right, that is an ongoing struggle. And for every sign of progress, there's a sign that we need to keep going, right? I think there are other challenges where, the signs are clear. Maybe we never have that problem again. And so obviously I can't speak to your individual situation, but I can say that we have to, once we've determined that enough is enough, right, we have to keep going until we know inside of ourselves or in the situation that we're facing that we've over process. But I think the process will always be the same according to Buddhism. The process will always be practice, uniting with the community, and studying with a trusted mentor or mentors, as the case may be. Thank you for that question, Chris.
Thank you. Can we hear from Audrey Linus? Unmute and speak.
Thank you, Louise. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. And thank you, Mr. Craig, for your message. Reverend Joseph mentioned the connection to singing in Christian churches. And I'm wondering if you could talk more about the purpose and benefits of chanting.
Yes. So across Buddhist traditions, there are many chants. Like we opened today with Thich Nhat Hanh's I Am Home. So across Buddhist traditions, there's an understanding that chanting, particularly the words of the Dharma, right, or words that come from, so the words of the teaching, or words that come out of the teachings, or words that were said by a teacher in reference to the teaching, that will protect you, right, that will draw forth strength, that can serve as a way of tapping into these forces inside of yourself. In the Soka Gakkai Nichiren Buddhist tradition, and the Nichiren Buddhist traditions more broadly, chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo or Namu Myoho Renge Kyo is the way to tap into your Buddha nature, right? That kind of highest potential and state of oneself. So that's the power of chanting according to the Nichiren Buddhist schools. It's a way of bringing forth that Buddhahood, that sense of courage, compassion, wisdom, life force, and everything that the awakened state, right, is said to be. But across Buddhist traditions more broadly, again, chanting is a way of connecting with oneself, connecting with the Dharma, protecting oneself, all of these things. And sometimes that can be more song-like than others. Right? Thank you, Audrey.
Let's go now to Kathleen Benjamin. Please unmute, Kathleen.
Good morning. Thank you so much for this message and this conversation and your questions, Craig and Craig. It's just so powerful as a practitioner myself of religious science. I love being steeped in the truth of the Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, the thing that keeps ordinary and courageous, and it brings about the opportunity to practice Buddhism in seeking out the thing and having the courage to seek out the thing. So that kind of whacked me out a little bit this morning because I forgot about that. I forgot about the fact that that is indeed the practice. Actually, I blacked it out. that really is indeed the practice of what we're here to do. And so I just want to say thank you for that. And also it's interesting that all of us here are some type of practitioners in regards to what we believe. And at this time in human history, we're all being called to represent our nature in some way. So just thank you for awakening me to that again. And yes, I have a daily practice and this has heightened everything. So just gratitude.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Let's hear from Maureen.
Hey, Ralph.
Hello.
Chris is a little under the weather. He'd be on screen, but he's actually listening. So such a delight to have you part of my world, because this is part of my world too. So it's just amazing that you're here. My question is about the community, the SGI community, communities that you've been involved with, because I know you've moved. So it's a pretty diverse community from what I see, and a lot of young people with a lot of enthusiasm and real sense of connectedness. Does SGI have a presence in the community as in social justice issues? Do they do that collectively as well, is my question.
Thank you for that question. It's good to see you. I'm glad Chris is listening. And I have deep, for those of you here who don't know me, I know Chris and Maureen quite well. And when I first moved to Los Angeles, I think that was in 2013, they were a great, great help to me. And so I'm forever grateful to them. To your question, they do participate. It's SGI, Soka Gakkai communities are locally based, as you said. And so that participation looks different in different places. In some places, in some cities or areas, that's a more formal participation in social justice movements. In other places, it's more individual members who themselves participate. And then the Soka Gakkai is a UN, an NGO, right, a non-governmental organization with the United Nations. And so in that capacity, they participate in efforts to advance global peace in different ways, right? So like the abolition of nuclear weapons is one of their initiatives. So in short, it looks different in different places. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Bob Gord.
There's so much to think about here. I'm sort of applying, in my mind, I'm especially applying what you're saying to racial justice, economic justice, activism, in which many of us, and we as a collective entity, are engaged. And I love the idea that we need a spiritual practice. And for me, being here on Sunday mornings is a big part of my spiritual practice, and I have other things that I rely on through the week. And to do racial justice work, you have to organize, you have to join with others in community. And studying appeals to me a great deal. I do a lot of that, and I seek people who know more than I do. And the idea of the obstacles, if your aim is sort of low, the obstacles are less. You know, if you just sort of are sort of mildly liberal and you'd like to see our society somewhat less poverty, you know, a bit less discrimination, things like that, the obstacles are not so high. But if you're aiming, say, for real equality, that aim, as you say, it raises up obstacles, which are very formidable. But I like the idea that the very fact that they are formidable sort of means we're heading in the right direction. And then we draw on those sources of strength that you talked about to take them on. I love the way all of that works together. Thank you so much.
Thank you for saying that. And I mean, much like Kathleen, if I may, much like Kathleen's comments, right? I think that is the crucial understanding, right? Is to say to ourselves and that's what practice does, right? This constant reminder when the obstacle comes, right? That's how you know you're on the right track. And that's different from the way a number of people in society think sometimes, right? They see an obstacle and they go, oh, we bet that's probably a sign we shouldn't do it. And really sometimes at the root of that is something you didn't want to do anyway. You know? Right, sometimes at the root you say, well, I'll see what happens. And then of course, seeing what happens means you're gonna see an obstacle. And then you see an obstacle and you say, well, this problem, maybe we shouldn't do it. It's too much resistance. But the trick is to practice, to have been in community, to have studied with the mentor, right? Or mentors that no, this is not the moment to turn around. This is the moment to go forward. Dr. Harris frequently reminds me of, right, the biblical, I think maybe in Esther, I don't know. But, you know, for such a time as this, right? That's the attitude to have every single time. And that's one meaning of mindfulness, you know, when people talk about mindfulness and as a practice and all of that. But one thing at the root of mindfulness is to be remembering something, right? So that's one way to think about it, is to remember at the crucial moment that such a time as this, as Dr. Harris would remind me.
Thank you, Ralph Craig III, and everyone for your comments. We might have time for one more. Anybody?
Well, I see, I was going to say that I see Chris Chappell put something in the chat, and since he's a little under the weather today, I'll just voice it for him. He says, please tell us about your current Tina Turner project.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chris. I am writing a religious biography of Tina Turner for Erdman's Library of Religious Biographies. So other figures that have been written about in that series include Billy Graham, Charles Lindbergh, I think there's one on him coming out, a number of other people. And so I'm writing the Tina Turner biography for that, religious biography for that. And what I'm seeking to do in that book is to draw the connection of the thread of religion through her life. You know, previous treatments of Tina Turner have talked about her life, primarily, understandably, from now 21st century music history. But I'm seeking to tell the story centering her religiosity. So most treatments of hers will say that mention that she's Buddhist, and she's probably one of the most famous Buddhists in the world. But to draw this through line from her Baptist and Pentecostal upbringing, primarily Baptist, but also Pentecostal upbringing, through encounters with what one might call metaphysical religion in the 60s and early 70s, into Buddhism, and now her kind of interfaith work and things like that. So I'm writing that. That's forthcoming. Talk about obstacles, right? But it is coming. I see somebody said in the chat, I guess the last thing I'll say is this, they said the surfer image really captures it. And I think that's visceral for me, since again, I can't swim. But I think that, again, to Kathleen and Bob's point, and I think the message of Tina Turner's life, which is why I'm writing about her life, right, is that it is those moments of headwinds that take us higher. And if our goal is to go higher, there is no other way but to face obstacles. So then the question becomes, are we strong? Have we strengthened our life? And strength, comes and goes. There's no, I think, to Craig's earlier question, I don't think there's one moment where you say, I'm strong and I'm strong forever. I think, there are moments of strength and there are moments of weakness, but as long as we remember, again, Nichiren's quote, at such a time, the 3 obstacles and 4 devils will invariably appear, and the wise will rejoice, while the foolish will retreat. As long as we have more moments of advancing than retreating, I think we're on the right track.
Hey, thank you so much. So time for a song, Louise, and I guess I'm going to do it this time, right?
Yes, you are.
All right.
But I wanted to just say to everyone, please let me know in the chat if you want to keep your comment private and not uploaded to YouTube. Okay. Thank you. All right, Kim.
Right. And I'll just say thank you, Louise, every week for putting that up there. I really appreciate your technical work. And thank you, Ralph, so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And yes, that is from the Book of Esther, Biblical Book of Esther, for such a time as this, which is perfect, for this post-Purim weekend. Now, I'm not going to try to say that 3 times fast. Okay. All right. So, I'm going to do something that I normally don't do. But, there was a little bit more to that Something Inside So Strong. And that song, it's, so we're going to have to sing that again. Because, Louise, we haven't really sung that in this community much, have we?
No, because I never knew it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there's just a little bit more. I think I just put it in the chat there. So this is how the bridge goes, but let's sing the chorus one more time and then I'll sing the bridge and then we'll keep on going. There's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. And though you're doing me wrong, so wrong, you thought that my pride was gone. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's something inside so strong. Oh, something. Now, this is the bridge. Brothers and sisters, when they insist we're just not good enough. No, not good enough. Oh, well, we know better. Just look them in the eyes and say, we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. There's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. Oh, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh, no. There's something inside so strong. Brothers and sisters. Oh, brothers and sisters. Oh, when they
insist we're just not good enough. Ooh, not good enough, not good enough. Look them in the eyes and say, we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. Say again, we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. Something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. Though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. No, no. There's something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Oh, there's something inside so strong. All right, y'all. All right.
Yes.